Hello everyone, I am Left, and today I am here to bring you guys my 3.1 meta report. This one might not be totally complete, but I just want to bring you guys what I think are the most prominent points of Vainglory 5v5 right now, the best heroes, the best items, what's OP, what is busted, what's underrated, stuff like that. So to start, we're going to talk about items, and the only item I want to talk about in this section is something that might be flying under your guys' radar, and that is Spellfire. A lot of people seem to forget that Spellfire was changed so that it causes mortal wounds along with burn. Now this is huge, and it was huge when it came out, because previously there was no way for Crystal Power heroes to apply mortal wounds, ever, unless you were Taka. So obviously, it applies mortal wounds and burn to your enemies. There are lots of good CP heroes that can use Spellfire now. The ones that are especially good are the ones that poke from range, like Crystal Kestrel. Spellfire is probably even viable as a rushing first item on CP Kestrel. You can pretty much slide it into any mage build because it gives you a good amount of Crystal Power. You can put it on Celeste, you can put it on Scarf. It's especially powerful on Scarf. You can just keep throwing fireballs that deal mortal wounds and such. So yeah, next time you're playing a mage, maybe substitute out that Shatter Glass for a Spellfire. Now, it's obviously not important as something like Dragon's Eye or Broken Myth, but it's definitely really good now, and I think it's worth your guys' attention if you are a mage player. Next, I want to talk about Rona. Even after the nerfs, she is still totally busted and awful to lane against. So yeah, keep playing Rona in top lane, rush Serpent's Mask breaking point, stack defense, get a Shiver Steal, and you instantly win. Next, let's talk about Fortress. He is probably the best support right now, and here is why. Truth of the Tooth grants movement speed boost toward who he marks. This is especially powerful in 5v5 because when you can group up your team and find somebody alone in the enemy team, Fortress really just amplifies your pick power, and that is so much more important in 5v5 than it was in 3v3. Lyra is very underrated right now. She was nerfed, she was buffed a little bit in 3.1. But now I think her purpose is to apply lane pressure again, like it was in like 2.6, 2.5. So what Lyra is really useful for right now is if you have a laner that is really weak in the early game, you can lock her into that lane and support that hero. Or if you have a laner that's really strong early game and the enemy laner is, not so strong early game, you can stick Lyra in that lane and just make the enemy laner's life hell while healing your teammate. Lyra is amazing for that right now, honestly, and once you level up her portal to level 3 and get some cooldown items, it is so fast to come off the cooldown timer, so I recommend you guys try Lyra out. The mobility plays that you can pull off with the Arcane Passage on Sovereign's Rise are crazy, so try Lyra out in one of the situations I just mentioned. Next, let's talk about Jewel. Jewel is very underrated right now as well. You can stick her in the top lane, and since top lane is what you call feast or famine, you either never see anybody except the enemy top laner, or you have a Kroll sitting in your bush the entire game for the first 10 minutes. Jewel is really underrated in top because, Jewel does massive damage, but she needs a lot of gold and some early kills to get to that damage. Top lane is great for her because she has the possibility to stay untouched and get really far ahead, at which point she can start to roam around the whole map and basically just wreck everybody. Whether you're going weapon or crystal, they're both viable in 5v5. Jewel is pretty good in top lane. Next, let's talk about Reza. Reza, he's obviously a really good jungler in 5v5, but that's not what I want to talk about today. Reza can actually be used in lane against certain skill shot type heroes that he can dodge around and deal easy poke damage to with his Scorcher. Heroes like Celeste or Kestrel, if you're up against them in lane, you can swap Reza into that lane and easily win matchups against them with your Firestarter perk. When you're in lane against a mage as Reza, and there's no outside interference, no jungler rotating on you, no support to protect the enemy mage, you have just so much power against them there's nothing they can do when they're, just scaling up in the early game against a Reza that already has Aftershock or something like that. So it's a pretty good matchup, and I would urge you guys to go try that out. Next, let's talk about Grumpjaw. Not much to say about him, just figure there might be some of you who still think Grumpjaw sucks because the last time you played him was in 3v3. But if you've watched any esports recently, you'd realize that Grumpjaw doesn't suck. He's a very solid jungler right now. Yeah, he applies a lot of pressure, has a lot of, armor with his perk, and he's just really solid right now. So if you're not playing Grumpjaw for fear that he's bad, start playing Grumpjaw, because he's good. Kroll is a very, very strong jungler right now. I'm sure you all already know that, but in case anybody didn't know that, Kroll is a very strong jungler right now. Now, last thing I want to talk about, if any of you guys watch Vainglory Esports, you'll know that Taka's broken right now. Gabe Vizzle found an exploit. I call it an exploit because it's just plain unfun to play against, where, as Taka, your first item you buy is Coat of Plates. Then you get a Storm Crown. Then you stack more armor until you have 2 metal jackets. Somewhere along the way you pick up an Aftershock, and you just keep building defense and health. You clear waves very easily in lane because you have a Storm Crown, and the enemy basically has no way to trade against you because you just regenerate health with Kaku, come out of nowhere, keep putting mortal wounds on them with X-Retsu, and it's just not fun. That's why I call it an exploit. It makes, honestly, in scrims, playing against this Taka build makes Truth want to uninstall Vainglory. So, yeah, it makes me feel the same way. Ban Taka right now, just because I really hate this. I mean, it works, but I hate that it works. So, anyways, guys, go through some more heroes rapid fire that are strong right now in the different lanes. Mid lane, you've got Samuel, Celeste, Idris, Varia, and maybe sometimes Baron, but they have to be not running very much dive. Top lane, you have Taka that I just talked about, Jewel, Rona, Tony, and other melee heroes. Jungle, you can go Kroll, you can go Glaive, Grumpjaw, Reza, Rona, Weapon Batiste, Crystal Batiste, Rhyme. Support, you got Fortress, Arden, Churnwalker, Lyra. Now granted, you have to be amazing at Churnwalker to be able to pull him off in 5v5 right now. Even Finn is pretty good right now. And then bottom lane, you see things like Vox, Gwen, Weapon Jewel, Kestrel, just any of the traditional weapon carries that you would have seen in 3v3, you can stick those in bot lane in 5v5. Ringo as well. So that's going to be it for this video, you guys. Hope you enjoyed it and learned something useful, and I'll see you all later. Also, remember, if you're still here, to go follow my Twitch channel, and if you ever see me streaming and you feel like subscribing, I actually have emotes now, so you can do that. Alright, later, guys.